was telling myself when I was in the corner, don't chase him. It's like, don't be a dickhead, don't chase him, just be calm. And I chased him, and I got cut for it.
Yeah, he had good elbows, hey, like he was...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And every time he elbowed, he'd smile at me, which pisses you off, because it's actually the first fight that I've gotten cut and I haven't cut the other person. Need a little TV.
Yeah. Hello. We are here. We've now done 2 podcasts in 1 year instead of 1 a year. So congratulations. We're just smashing it. Here today with our special guest, Charlie Bubb, WBC light heavyweight world champion. No biggie. Defending world champion now. So legit.
Yeah, everyone says 2-time, but it's not 2-time. It's reigning and defending.
Reigning and defending. Yes. I think technically the thing with 2-time is you've got to like lose it and then get it again, right?
Yeah.
That's like the technical term for 2-time.
Yeah, it's how the UFC always brags about it. It's always like 2-time. It's like, not 2-time. I'm reigning and defending.
Well, plan to hold on to that belt for a long time.
Exactly.
Yes.
I want 10 of them.
There you go. Yeah, so you were here today, out here conveniently for us, doing some filming for TrainAid. Lovely hydration drink. Let's start with that. How long have you been using TrainAid for?
I started using TrainAid in the lead up to when I fought Jake. So when was that? Not October last year. When was that? September last year.
Yep.
September last year. Yeah, because they just put it everywhere, and I saw that all the UFC fighters were using it through Geordie, and I was just like, I'll give it a crack. And then, yeah, I felt great being on it. Like, I'm going to have a couple drinks. I'll hydrate with TrainAid before, and then I'll wake up in the morning, I'm good. I'll train in the morning, I'll have it throughout the day, and then have it again at night. And so, yeah, I'm stoked they want me to be a part of their team, and they've flown me up here today from Orange to, do a bit of filming and be an ambassador. So, yeah, it's a weird pinch yourself moment too, because like as a kid, you don't think that brands are going to want to work with you, but yeah, Dean got me up here, and I'm stoked.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, they're a good bunch of guys. They've supported MTL for, I think, almost since the beginning. It was pretty early on.
Yeah.
And, yeah, like same with us. We love their product. We used it. All our fighters use it. Guys in the gym, we sell it in the gym. So, yeah, and they're just a good bunch of guys.
It's pretty cool. I was talking to Dean about how it came together. Like the idea was Geordie was making stuff for fighters after weighing, and he was weighing out like certain different things just to get the mixture right, and it steamrolled from there. It started off as that idea, and then, yeah, now they've gone crazy with them. One of the biggest hydration brands in Australia, so it's pretty cool. Actually,
I used Geordie for one of my, like a few of my, like he was my dietitian early on, and I remember that he had this drink, like you've got to make this drink after weigh-in, and it was horrible. Like it was like this concoction of things. He'd give you the ingredients and you had to make it, and then you had to drink that before you could eat. And it was, gross. So that actually makes a lot of sense.
It's just TrainAid without flavour.
But it's good that they've made this because it's a nice product and it's not feral. So, yeah. So, yes, when all our guys get to fight on MTL, first thing we give them is TrainAid. So
TrainAid station right there just to go to.
Yes. Anyway, getting back to you. So, won your world title this year. Defended it already this year.
Yep.
So, won it on MTL and then defended it on 1774 recently. So now I'm sure it feels very legit.
I will be honest, when I first won it, we had the situation with James getting sick the week before, and then Marcus stepped in. I didn't realise he was going to be legitimately the toughest guy in the world, but yeah, it felt didn't feel like it was mine, and I've always been a big believer of something's not yours till you defend it. Yeah, as you know, we were originally planning on defending it in Italy. And that didn't turn out, but we got it on 2 weeks after that in Sydney. And, yeah, now reigning and defending, I'm looking to defend it for a few more years now.
Yeah, nice. Very good. And it's been a journey for you to get here. And you don't necessarily have the easiest run with fighting opponents. You've kind of, a while ago, I guess, you washed out everyone that was really in Australia to fight. Tell us a little bit about, I guess, the last few years for you, and I guess you had that goal for a little while, obviously, to get that shot at the world title again. So take us back, I guess, you fought for the world title before, first
Yep.
George man, and then and through that journey since then, for those who don't know.
So it pretty much starts back in 2019. That's when I made my big run. I was fighting big names. From 2018, I was fighting big names. 2019 came along. I was just on a steamroll. And Benny Johnson had just vacated the title because he was the champion. And Sai asked if I wanted to fight for it on Rebellion. And I actually turned it down because I had an injury. The one fight I turned down that year. And then Jake won it. Jake Lund. And then, so I felt like, all right, sweet, I'll fight him at the end. And then Jake retired. And then 2020 happened. We were supposed to originally go to England to fight Daniel Bonner. And then COVID happened. And then, yeah, it was a big build-up. We finally got fighting again in 2021. Fought George. Lost that. And then, yeah, went back into lockdown again. It was a big struggle for us personally because me, Danny and Abbott were all not vaccinated, so we couldn't fight anywhere. Like, everyone else was fighting, and we're like, you know, we got to make a choice here. But, yeah, we stuck to our guns, but it was actually a pretty dark time because we didn't know if we were going to fight again, but we stuck to our morals on that. And then, yeah, what year was that, 2022, you called us, get us a fight on Muay Thai League, and then the week before, it was a common theme, we had to pull out. And yeah, we all know how that fight turned out and what the situation was behind that, which was a bit weird. And then we spent the rest of that year, we managed to rack in 4 fights that year, which I was happy with. It was consistent, showed that fights were back. And then coming into 2023, I didn't know, like I was a bit injured, I was a bit run down. I was still working for my old boss who was like 100% supportive, but it was wearing me out. Then I fought in Melbourne for a kickboxing world title, won that, but I got backstage and I just wasn't happy. Like, I was injured, just wasn't my time, and so we had a big break. But yeah, I didn't know whether I was going to fight again after that. I was just not really planning on doing much, and it only lasted about a month. And I was like, yeah, no, I want to do this. And then yeah, we're talking to you guys here at MTL again, and then we're looking for an opponent. I think it got to about 6 weeks out and we hadn't had anyone yet. Like, this person was saying they want this much money. This person was saying they don't want to fight for this reason. And I remember we had someone, and then something happened, and you messaged me like, all right, I'm going to put this post up and we'll see what happens, see if we can get a fight from it. And I think everyone in Australia commented me versus Jake. So that was our trilogy. That was the fight that had to happen. That's Jake coming off beating George, who beat me, winning the diamond belt. So I knew if I won this fight, there was no denying that I was going to fight for the title next. Yeah, got that, came in. I quit my job leading up to that fight. So I didn't work. I just had training, sparring, recovery, everything for that. And then, yeah, I felt unbeatable then. And then, yeah, since then it's just steamrolled. I got to fight in Orange. I got to fight overseas, won the world title in February, defended this year. And then, yeah, we're going to keep steamrolling on to next year.
Yeah, so around that period, like, it'd been quite... There was obviously, in the Australian eyes, there was always the discussions of you, George, Jake, and Toby. And then we kind of come down to this, like, there was a back and forward about whether you and Jake were ever going to fight again. You know, on social media, there was like, yeah, I'll fight anyone. Let's do this, you know, then kind of go away a little bit again. It was a bit all over the place, wasn't it? And then Toby was obviously in the talks of all of that, but then, and fought at 79. And then in the end, he decided he wants to be at 76. And that's, so you and Toby, we can clarify, is not going to happen because you're at 79, he's at 76, he doesn't want to go up. So
people that keep saying that, I'm not making 76. I hate cutting weight. If there was a division between 79 and 90, I'd fight in that. But I can't, so I'm making 79. I'm not fighting below 79.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Yeah, and just because you once fought at 76, it's like you were young, right? Like,
I think the last time I fought at 76 was when I fought Stefan. When you fought in Perth.
Over in Perth, domination. Yeah. So that was, that was ages ago.
Yeah, that was the last time I fought at 76. I fought at 77 since then.
Yeah.
But it's not fun. I don't fight the best at
Yeah.
77. So
And this is a good thing for people to like consider as well, especially like if you can be at the top of your game at 79. A lot of fighters, they feel like they need to just cut and get down to the lower division and like be the biggest that they can for the smallest division possible. And it's like, yeah, maybe you could get to 76 if you want to kill yourself doing it. But if like this is a really good thing for people to take to consider is like if you can be healthier, not cut as much weight and do well at 79, then you should, and so should every fighter. Should just be more of a like push to be more in the division where they belong.
Yeah.
Instead of just like you see some of these guys get on the scales and they look like absolute death.
Yeah, like a prime like the UFC do all the time. You saw when Rob Whittaker was at welterweight, he had a few knockout losses, moved up to middleweight, went on a run to win the title. Same thing with Jaden. He'd lost a couple times. I'd beat him at 79 and 78. He moves up to 90, 86 to 90. And he's a weapon because his body's fueled. And I think it's a really old school mentality that you need to cut as much as you can, like absolutely strip down. It's all about advantage. Well, it's like you said, if you're walking at 84 and you feel good at 79, don't drop to 76. Like it's what you don't need. When I fought Jay Tonkin, I'd never been knocked down before, but it's the only time I'd made 77 within 6 weeks of each other. And I reckon that had something to do with it. He hits like a train, don't get me wrong, but cutting weight, people don't realise, like, your brain is the first thing to lose water and the last thing to get it back. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see, like, how many fights in history would be different if it was at a higher weight class or if it was a catch weight fight. It's a big thing that, like you said, I think a lot more people need to take consideration of.
And also, like, fighting isn't forever, right? So, like, you want a brain after this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm certain that you want to live a life, you know, where you're not punch drunk or, you know, you've got a good memory on you and yeah, you haven't taken, like, unnecessary damage to your brain.
And the liver, too. Like, you think cutting weight, it's just, like, you hear stories of when Wayne Parr used to drop, like, 14 kilos and he's 6 foot. That's a lot of weight.
Yeah.
Like, that's ridiculous. And it's like, I'd never had a nutritionalist until my last fight, and it's amazing how much better you feel, how much you can actually fuel your body when you do it right. I remember the old school way of just like, just eat salad all day in the week of the fight and then just sweat it all out afterwards. Like, yeah, it's good to see like companies like TrainAid, like nutritionalists getting involved and helping fighters. Like, it's not so much of a struggle. You still have fighters that are caught in their ways, but yeah, like you're seeing a lot more improvement too.
Yeah, there's a benefit, I guess, these days. There's so many resources, especially with, obviously, the internet, just having so much information available, even for free. And then you can very easily find the right person to hire and talk to other fighters and find out what dietitians are, you know, highly recommended, what products to use, all of that sort of stuff. So it's a much more accessible resource now, which is good for fighters coming up.
And there have been, like, and obviously Jordan Coe's an example of cutting weight dangerously in the past, and it's like now that that's happened, people see like I'm not cutting weight by myself, like I'm not going to run with a sweatsuit. Like, we've learnt from what's happened in the past, so that I'd never sit in a sauna by myself, never sit in a bath by myself. I always have someone there, just because you may not think you're cutting that much weight, but you don't know what's going on inside your brain or your body. So it's only takes one mistake and it can be dire.
Yeah, for sure. So then so you got this fight with Jake, which was obviously great for Aussie fans because we got to see the trilogy happen and put that to bed. Won that fight, and so the world title was obviously that next step. I think most of our listeners would know, but for those that don't know, you had James Ogden booked, and unfortunately he withdrew the weekend before the fight. Very valid reasons, very unwell and unable to fight. We bring Marcus out from Sweden on the week of the fight, completely just ready to go for it. This is like the nightmare of booking you an opponent, and this guy takes it on a few days' notice, basically. And I guess this is, we obviously know all the details, but for those that don't know, like, we were reaching out to everybody in that division, the division below, the division above, all around, anywhere around 79, even well before this last minute thing, you know,
Yeah,
just to get you an
that
opponent.
Christmas break, we were looking everywhere.
Yeah, and there was like, you know, some people would say, yeah, I'd take the fight and I want 15 grand, you know, and 3 flights from Europe or whatever, like just completely pricing themselves out. We obviously had a few hiccups with one championship contracts and things like that as well. Some fighters just already booked for, you know, another world title or something else. And then some people just blatantly not wanting to take the fight. So, yeah, we finally got there. Now, the original plan was to fight Chaffee, right? So, Musin was at the time the current world champion.
Yep. And then...
We locked that in.
Yep.
And so it was going to be even kind of sweeter because you're going to get to fight the current world champion, which obviously that's a fighter's dream, right? Take the title off the current champs, even better than winning a vacant one.
Yep.
And he... was in one championship at the time, so as much as that was a headache, but we got it over the line. Then he goes on one championship, takes a last minute fight, gets knocked out, loses his belt, which is a policy. So for those that don't know, if you're a WBC world champion, this goes across a lot of sanctions too, but I'll speak for WBC. If you hold the belt and you fight at your current weight or lighter and you get knocked out, you immediately stripped of your belt. So you don't have to fight for the belt. Any fight you take, if it's at your weight or less, then you lose.
Under Muay Thai rules though, right?
Under
Muay Thai. Yeah, and since he fought in one with small gloves, but since it was under Muay Thai rules,
yep,
it still counts as that, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm pretty certain it doesn't transfer to kickboxing or... Yeah. But yeah, so he lost the belt, and then that meant he couldn't fight for it, so we had to find someone else. And then we got James Ogden, and that was all go.
It was all go for about 8 weeks.
Yep.
And it was all going to happen.
Yep. And then, he got horribly ill with an infection right before, and then he was out, and, Marcus from Sweden stepped up.
Yeah, and I always say to Danny, my trainer, my manager, he never calls me Sunday before a fight. He knows that's when I start my cut. That's when I just don't want to talk to him. Leave me alone. And I know if I see his phone ring. And I was at Kmart and I saw it and I'm like, I'm not answering that yet. Got home, rang him, and his Tellboy's voice. I'm like, yeah, sweet. And he said he spoke to Nakia. This is why James is out. We found Marcus, and like as anyone would, like you train for this specific opponent for 8 weeks. You put everything to it, and then it's in a different mindset. For the first 3 days, I wasn't against it. I just was in two minds about it. Like, I've been training for 15 years. It's come down to this point, and this happens. But I had a yarn to a few people, talked to Danny, talked to Andrew, and I was like, yeah, right, this is what we've been training for. It's more than just this fight in particular. This is every fight that I've had. So, yeah, once we got into that mindset, I was like, yeah, sweet, no matter what, like this is what it's all for. And it turned out I was fighting the Terminator, because I even said to him after the fight, I was like, mate, I hit you with the sweetest body shot I've ever hit someone with, and it's like you didn't even feel it. It's like I was hitting brick.
Yeah, he had a good poker face. Hey, just sort of just kept coming forward. And
then after the fight, like they obviously stopped it. End of the third, start of the fourth because of cuts, and like he started crying, which, like, if you've seen the footage, it's heartbreaking because he took the fight on a week's notice. It's one of the worst cuts I've ever given out. And then my wife's parents were talking to him, and they're like, yeah, he wasn't sad because he lost. He's sad they stopped the fight and he couldn't go the 5 rounds. So I'm like, shit, I was putting it on it. Like, I was astonished that was his mentality.
Yeah.
So yeah, to see him with a full camp, I reckon be exciting. I think he's actually fighting this weekend.
Yeah.
In Sweden. Yeah. So yeah, it's going to be good to see him back in, hopefully get a win, and then see him start to fight some proper internationals.
Yeah. We definitely like to have him back out. He was like great to deal with, and I think he definitely gained some fans that night. That's for sure.
Oh, 100%. But then that was like I said before, it was bittersweet. But then once I got to that mindset that this is what it was for, like the emotion still took over after the fight. Like, this is the belt that everyone wants in Muay Thai. It's 14 years of work. Like, yeah, I was blown away with it.
Yeah. And then you get to defend it recently, 1774.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about that one.
Yep. So we'll touch on what was supposed to happen first. We were supposed to fight in Italy on the WBC 20th anniversary show, which I saw on Instagram. I messaged you. That started a big argument with Sarah. And then we got over that, and then we were like, yeah, sweet.
What was it? The week after your wedding?
It was the week after
the wedding.
So we got married the Saturday. We would have had to fly out latest or earliest the Monday. So yeah, so it's kind of like a godsend. Like I'm so happy now that didn't happen. But yeah, so once we found out that fight wasn't going to happen, we immediately got into Aram and was like, can you like do something? Like, this is what's happened. Like, we'd love to defend the belt close to home. And originally we were going to try fight Musin again, but he was still booked to fight in Italy. So then he went through the rankings, and apparently, like, this tie, he was WBC were doing their thing around Australia. They did like the seminars.
Yep.
And he was talking to someone there. He's like, oh, there's this guy in Thailand. He's been knocking everyone out. Like, my bets are he's going to knock Charlie out. Or what Aram said was that he's going to knock, either he knocks Charlie out or Charlie beats him on points. So as soon as I heard that, I was like, fuck him. I'm going to be the one to knock him out. So I was happy with that. I saw his last fight, and he absolutely destroyed this guy with an elbow. And I was like, yeah, sweet. I checked it with Sarah. I said, this is 3 weeks after. And she's like, yeah, that's sweet. The most important thing to Sarah was that I enjoy the wedding, which I did. It was a great day. But yeah, and it was good because we put so much hard work. Like, before that got done, I started working with Pulse Performance. So I started building my body, getting stronger, and I felt myself getting so much stronger. I had 3-week intense camp. Got to have I didn't even have a break. Like, I trained the Saturday morning, got married the Saturday. But it was just like a nice little break-up of camp, so I felt refreshed, even though we didn't get to have a break. And then, yeah, 3 weeks later, we went down to Sydney. It was a great show in 1774. And, yeah, I didn't feel the best coming out in the first round. I felt like he outscored me a lot. And then the second round, he dropped me with... I dropped him with punches. And I was telling myself when I was in the corner, don't chase him. I was like, don't be a dickhead, don't chase him, just be calm. And I chased him, and I got cut for it.
Yeah, he had good elbows. Hey, like, he was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And every time he elbowed, he'd smile at me, which pissed you off because it's actually the first fight that I've gotten cut and I haven't cut the other person.
There you go.
So that annoyed me, but yeah, it was a mental battle at that fight too because I dropped him, I got cut. At the end of the first round, I got back to the corner. I don't even realise my shin was split again. So in that same arena 2 years ago, in that same venue, I got cut, I split my shin, and I got knocked down against Jay. And Sarah was a bit iffy going to that venue. She's like, oh, like, this is what happened last time. I got back to the corner at the end of the first round, and Abbott started working on my shin. I'm like, what's wrong with it? And I was like, oh, fuck. So, yeah, I split my shin again, got back to the second round, split my eye, and then something just clicked in my head. I was like, every time you chase him, he's elbowing you. I was like, just sit back and work your kicks. So from that round, from the start of the third round, I sat back a bit, worked my kicks a bit more. I was still planting hard hands, and we'd worked a lot in that fight. Different way of throwing out kicks, like up under elbows. And yeah, it came off sweet. I landed the kick exactly how I've been working it, and yeah, reigning and defending.
There you go, and it all happens. Man, how does it play? Like, you know, you hear of people getting superstitious or worrying about things like jinxing them like that, like a venue, or you know, maybe people think, oh, like they had a bad run on a show or something, and they worry about it being bad luck. Like, what goes through your head when you think about that? And obviously you verbalize it if Sarah brought it up as well, and then for that to actually happen, like the things start to fall apart where you're like, fuck, okay. Like, what goes on in your head, like in the fight or in between rounds? I
wasn't superstitious. Just it is what it is to me. But yeah, I got back to the corner, and as soon as Abbott did that, I was like, what the referees were telling me and what the doctor. So when I fought Jay, it wasn't a title fight. So I put an anklet over my shin, which you can't do in title fights. I've just learnt this. So yeah, Elias came over, and Elias loves yelling at me, so he ripped it off and said, you can't do that. I was like, yeah, sweet. But it was just going through my head that that's what the doctor was going to stop it for last time until we covered it up. So that was going through my head. So I consciously made the decision not to kick with my right leg. But yeah, then I think I came out, I knocked him down. That's when I was like, they're not going to stop this like now. And then I got cut, and the cut was in between my eyebrow and my eyelash. So that's a shit spot. Everyone knows that if you get cut there, it's like time's running out. And I spoke to Ellis after the fight, and he said, "No, I always like to make you go back to the corner and let the corner have a go at stopping the bleeding." So yeah, Abbott and Danny did a great job on it, and then that's when I sat back. I was like, I don't want to get hit. I was telling myself, don't wipe it. I was like, don't wipe that, and you'll be right. But yeah, to be like, I'm not superstitious at all. I don't wear the same pair of undies. I don't have to put on my right glove first and my left glove first. And it's just like, you wake up, everyone bleeds the same. Like, doesn't matter if you do this or that. So I wasn't worried about it. Sarah was, but yeah, we'll see. Hopefully we're looking at fighting again there in February, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Cause I ended up getting surgery on that shin too because it got infected, so they had to cut it and put it back together. So that was a bit of a head spin more than anything because I've never had an infection or gone like septic before.
Yeah, right.
And this was like proper shaking, freezing 1 minute, hot the next minute, freezing. And then like I was grabbing Sarah's arm as I was laying in bed, and I thought like I'd like fall asleep for a second, but I was passing out because I'd like hold her, then I'd wake up and grab her again. And I felt like I had razor blades in the back of my eyes. And then I got to the hospital and they're like, "Oh yeah, you're coming straight through."
Yeah, geez, so they did it right there on the spot.
My sister-in-law, she's pregnant and she had gallbladder stones, and they pushed me in front of her. So as Sarah dropped me off, like I went into surgery, she went and sat with Caitlin, and she's like, "Oh," the doctor walked in, she's like, "Well, someone's pushed in front of you." And Sarah's like, "Oh, my husband just went in." And she's like, "Oh, what's your husband's name?" She's like, "Charlie Bubb." She's like, "Yeah, they pushed in front of you." I was like, "Oh, sorry, but no, I got that done. So hopefully that doesn't split open again. Yeah. It's gonna be annoying if it is, but just part of the fight game, I guess.
Yeah, right. Well, I guess it's probably a good thing that you've kind of got that mentality of just rolling with the punches, right? Because the fight game is a roller coaster, and you can have your family and everyone around you stress for you. That's better off than you just focus on the job at hand. And
yeah, and at the end of the day, you can put whatever you want to put in, and like. Who was doing that? That Brian Ortega in the UFC, he was jumping up and down in the ring beforehand, rolled his ankle. Yeah. So it's like, whatever happens, you just got to roll with it. I saw a good quote as I was training for this fight. It's like, if you need to be, feel 100% to perform at your best, it's like, what kind of fighter are you? So it's like, everything has to be right. And when I first started, I was very suspicious. Like, I had a lot of suspicion. But then once you kick one, you kick the other, kick the other, kick the other. And you're like, no, it's sweet. Like, I don't need all these things. Like, if I'm relying on this one thing for me to be the best fighter in the world, like, am I really the best fighter in the world? So that was a good clicking point in my head because, like, you'd be tired from work, you'd be sore from something, but it's like, if you still can't perform, what kind of fighter are you? So once that clicked in my head for this last camp, that's when I really saw myself improve too.
Yeah, how often do you think fighters honestly actually get into the ring 100%? Like, it's so many.
Be a dime a dozen.
Yeah, like carrying sickness, like especially like immune systems take a hit towards the end of fight camps or in the brunt of the fight camp as well. So it's like so many. It's like slightly unwell or just coming off, like had a week off in one of the prime weeks because they got hit with the flu or injuries or whatever. Like, everyone's carrying something in there. So yeah, I think most fighters would be able to relate to that for sure. You definitely, or the opposite, people say everything was 100% perfect, everything went well, get in there and, get dropped in the first round or something crazy happens that they just, the fight game, and fucking punches you in the face, doesn't it?
Yeah. That's the best thing though. It's like, you never know what's going to happen. Like, you can do everything right, and then the last minute, the last 30 minutes before the fight screws you up, or you get in and it's just something changes, and that's the best. It's one of the best parts of the fight game. Like, you actually don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, so let's talk a bit about, so you're based in Orange. Now, not the land of opportunity over there. So I think that would be something interesting for people to hear a little bit about. Tell us about your team, what your camp looks like, what it's like, I guess, that the benefits and also the challenges that come with training without that typical large gym sort of environment, what all that looks like for you.
Yeah, so we're a small team from Orange. There's 3 of us. So myself, Denny Maskachef, Andrew Abbott. We all work full time. I've got my own carpentry business. Abbott's got his own painting business. Denny works at the mines, so they're shit hours anyway. And yeah, we got a ring at Denny's house, and then I've got a shed at my house that's where me and Abbott mainly train, and me and Denny always train at his house. And it's got its positives and its negatives. One of the positives is that we're away from all the drama. Like, as you know, being a promoter, being a trainer, there's a lot of politics in Australian Muay Thai. But we're just out in the country, New South Wales, and we're just like, well, it doesn't bother us out here as long as I'm still getting fights. And now it's actually great for us now that I'm the champ, that we don't have to worry about pleasing anyone or doing this or doing that. It's like, we're not arseholes at the end of the day, but it's like, if you're going to treat us like shit because of this, well, we just won't deal with you. But yeah, it's great having that. We're such a tight-knit group too. Like, they were 2 of my groomsmen for my wedding. And yeah, it molds together. I travel for sparring, so I'll travel to Canberra to spar the Moy U boys, like David Pinnipede, Max McVicker, Jerome. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but Jerome. And yeah, then I'll travel to Sydney to spar with Rob Whittaker, Jacob Malcoon, and I don't know how to pronounce Izzy's last name either. But yeah, so it's good for me because when I have to travel for sparring, it gets me out of that in that little uncomfortable zone. So it's like I'm actually going to do something. But yeah, I love it. I don't really know what else to say about it, but yeah, we're just 3 dudes, 3 tradies out in the middle trying to do our best, and it's been good because Danny joined our team in 2018. So people that don't know Danny he's originally from Victoria. He moved up to the Goldie. He's fought Scotty Bannon. He's fought Carnage. He was old school Queensland Muay Thai, and then he was in Orange for 7 years. And I'd had him friends on Facebook, but I'd never met him. And then I was trying to fight Jake for the second time on Eruption, and Paulie Demicoli calls me up and he's like, "Oh, I've got a mate. He's a bit weird, but he can hold pads." I was like, "Yeah, sweet, righto." I didn't take the first part too seriously, but yeah,
Danny is weird.
Danny's fucking weird. But yeah, so Danny's joined our team since 2018, and we've only lost 1 fight since then, which was to George. And it's cool. Like, after I first won the title, like Danny said to me, he's like, I had no plans on getting back in the sport. I haven't anything to do. So just to see him get back to where he was, every time we come up here, like, he's catching up with someone who used to fight or someone from here. So yeah, it's cool to see that. And it's cool for Abbott, who's just someone who loves the sport. Like, I've known him since my first fight. We used to fight together when I was 14, 15. So yeah, to see him enjoying that, him to be a world-class trainer, like, it's rewarding to me to see that. And then it just makes for such a better story that we just come from a small town, and yeah, we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. And I think, like, you can already hear just from even this small time today is like, you've got such a good attitude of just doing what it takes, you know, the highs, the lows, whatever. You're here to fight. You want to fight the best. You want to do it all right. But at the same time, without complaining about it, you've already sort of like pinpointed quite the sacrifices that have to be made to be a fighter. And I think it can be easy for people not to realize that, because obviously we're in the land of social media now as well, where everything is a highlight reel. Yeah,
social media is give or take. There's
benefits.
Yeah, there's benefits, but there's also some downsides, and it's hit and miss. Because for me, it's like you're so busy doing everything, you forget to keep up with social media, and a lot of it goes on follows, and it's like, oh well, people are going to get this person because they got more followers, and it's like it's. Yeah, but again, it's a good brand because you have those more followers and you have that brand. You can promote yourself more and do that. But then, yeah, you get people that oh, I want to fight you, I want to fight you. Yeah, sweet. Like, this is how much you're getting. No, I want this much. And it's like, do you want a chance at the title, or do you just want to say this and do it? So, yeah, social media is a wonderful thing.
Yeah, it's like, obviously being a promoter, like, we see the business side of it, where it's like, yes, more eyes on fighters, more eyes on the sport means growth. If we can put more bums in seats, more people tuning in to watch the fights, then more people might rock up to gyms to start training or get their kids to train. Like, the whole thing for us is like, let's get Muay Thai more on the map, because it's such a good sport and it can offer so many people great things in their lives as well, whether it's just to do something different and get in shape, whether it's learn to defend yourself, whether it's to get kids to stop being rat bags, like the discipline, all of that sort of stuff.
So that's what people don't get. Like, with me, when I was a kid, at my high school, I got the record for the most suspensions. I was a piece of shit as a kid, but like, having that discipline through Muay Thai, like having that release, it's what a lot of kids don't have. And it's like a lot of kids just play video games, but if you have that outlet and they have that discipline, you'll see that. Like, if I didn't have Muay Thai, there's no way I would have went into the trade. There's no way I would have had my own business. You wouldn't have the discipline to be able to do that. And I think that's the point that a lot of people, they see it and they just think it's a violent sport. But yeah, they miss the hours of discipline, like the dieting, the missing events, like being focused on one thing. Like, I'm sure you'll see it too with like kids at the gym and everything. Like, it just changes their life. Yeah,
and it's like, competing's one small avenue of it. Like, we've got a big member base here and such a small amount of them actually compete. And that opportunity and option is always there for them that want to take it that way, but they don't have to. And yeah, that's what's amazing about the sport. We see kids all the time turn around their behavior, and kids come out of their shell that are quiet, or kids that maybe a bit more mischievous, sort of like calm down and become a bit more level-headed. And yeah, I think the trick for us, I guess, as fighters, promoters, trainers, all of that, is like finding that balance of using social media for the good part, which is, let's get more people involved in the sport, let's get more eyes on it, let's grow careers. We're always like pushing fighters to get more active on social media, not just because it's like, oh, get more followers so you can get opportunity, but like create more opportunity for yourself.
Yeah, and people actually want to see that too. Like, yeah,
share your story. Like, you're like, when we met you, even like got to know you better, obviously through putting you on a few shows. It's like, man, you've got such a cool, like, personality, cool story. Like, we want kids to look up to someone like you. Not just the rubbish that can, I guess, be on social media.
Yeah, I'd love kids to look up for me, but I'd love for Muay Thai to have that platform where they don't have to be a tradie. I'll rephrase that. So they get a trade, so they know they have a skill and they have something to fall back on. But then once they get to a point, they don't have to. Like, I hope in 5 years, 10 years, if a kid has the WBC world title, they don't have to be at work. They can go do something. Like, they can commit to training. They can like just do PTs and have enough to get by. So that's what I've always said. I got so many people that ask me, like, oh, are you going to swap to MMA? Are you going to do this, you going to do that? And an answer that I've only discovered lately in myself is, I can be the best at the world at something and still have a normal life, still go to the pub, have no problems. Like, I get recognised. Like, I got recognised in Rome last year by someone from Chris Bradford's gym, and I was like, that's pretty cool. But yeah, that's what I'm enjoying at the minute. So that's like, I'm not going to go to MMA because I'm enjoying that part. But in 10 years' time, I really hope that Muay Thai is at that point where, like, not that they're getting harassed, but like they're more famous. Like, they're getting the money and they can actually live a lot, like make a life from it.
Yeah, for sure. Wrapping this up, you've got a flight to catch.
Yes, I do.
What's next for you? What's coming for you?
So we're working for February on 1774. And then we're in talks for a WMC world title fight, middle of the year. But yeah, I just want to obviously keep fighting the best, keep defending the WBC title as much as possible. I said this in my last fight, a big goal for me is to fight in Japan. I know it's going to be kickboxing or K1, but that suits my style too. And it's just, it's a big dream of mine, watching old school K1. I'd love to fight in Japan. I'd love to get that opportunity, keep fighting internationals, and just keep fighting the best in the world.
Do your thing.
Awesome.
Keep that belt and collect some more while you're at it.
You know I will.
All right. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, catch Charlie, follow him on his socials and follow the journey, and some more WBC defenses to come. And that's it. Thank you.